today. I'm the president of the Habersham Park Association, which is the newest neighborhood association in the area, so we don't know anything. But one thing we do know is that we're very security oriented, and that area is where the 24/7 security service patrol started back in the 70s. Right? Can you hear it? Chew on it. So anyway, it has been a great experience to meet Barry and many of his people. One of the great things is he helped us get started and with a program and so forth. It was very different than anything we've been involved with before, but it's been a fantastic experience. One of the best experiences is getting to know these guys who are working at APD personally and learn more about how much this means to them and what's going on in the area. It's put you on the ground floor with what's going on. But Barry told me 20 times how many times he's been shot, knifed, run down people, and I said, well, he's going to go retire up in Tiger, Georgia, and just hang out, paint, that sort of thing. I understand he is beat up the mayor of Tiger, Georgia.
No, he beat me
His wife did, and he just had a gun on him. I don't know. Barry, you mean a lot to us. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Ed.
Association and was a founding president when we needed to find a security patrol, and we ushered in Barry into our neighborhood. We appreciated it, and now I'm back as president again, and I'm here to usher you out. Anyway, they talked about a roast. No, we're not going to roast you tonight, but I did have a couple of occasions that I thought of, Barry. One was. My wife was at home. This is almost a roast on her, I think. But she was at home on one occasion, and the helicopters were flying overhead. They obviously were doing something in the neighborhood. Somebody ran past our kitchen window, so she called you on the telephone. She didn't call 911, which is what you said to do. She called you, and you said, yeah, we're trying to apprehend somebody. We've got a search crew out, etc. She says, well, he's out in the backyard, and I'll make sure he stays there. So she runs out with a butcher knife.
I didn't tell her to do that.
That's it. All of the instructions that Barry had given, don't go out, lock yourself in that house, call 911. She's taking that instruction now. She knows very well what to do. But the other occasion that really comes to mind was midnight one night. I'm out in my backyard. My next door neighbor is away, and I hear something happening in the carport in his backyard, and it's midnight. And of course, I know nothing good is happening right after midnight. So I call 911, and the police come a little while later, and they arrest Barry. All right, they didn't arrest him. What happened was Barry knew that the neighbor was gone, didn't set a particular schedule up. He was on his motorcycle up the driveway. He was in the carport checking, making sure everything's okay. He was driving back down on a bike. And of course, I told 911, somebody's on a bike in the backyard. So thank you, Barry, for being there for all of us. And on behalf of all of our neighborhood, Memorial Park Association, we thank you for your service, not just to the city of Atlanta, but certainly to our neighborhood and all the rest of the neighborhoods that you've been supporting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Foresight Citizens Association, and this is Elizabeth Morris, who is the security chairman of the Mount Airy Northside Citizens Association, and works very close with Barry. And while I was thinking of what I was going to say to Barry, I got this book of 101 most famous poems, and I found the perfect one for Barry. In fact, I wrote it on my own sheet of paper just so I wouldn't have to hold the book. And it's actually called Oh Barry. Oh Barry, 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 Barry. With you around, life's not nearly as scary. You chase after thieves, robbers, and bad guys. And really, hands down, that beats wearing ties. You watch over our homes, but you're not a stalker. And sometimes you can even be quite a talker. You protect old people, babies, and mamas, and even get to see me in my ugly pajamas. But that's okay. You do your best, and we all know you love to jest. You protect us all and make the world a better place. We will certainly miss seeing your bright, smiling face. So have a great retirement with new adventures every day. But don't forget about your friends in the neighborhood, MPNCA. But we very much appreciate you and all you've done for us, and your legacy will live on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My wife Leslie and I live on Spring Valley Road in Collier Hills. In fact, Leslie grew up on Spring Valley. What a great event. It gives us a chance to honor and thank Barry, and by extension of that, the outstanding people that have worked with you for all these years. And I know Jeff Baxter is here. Where are you, Jeff? And so everybody needs to know that Jeff has big shoes to fill, but we're in good, capable hands. So thank you, Jeff. I too have a helicopter-related story to share. It's about 10 years ago. I was home one night. Leslie was out of town on a business trip, and I was awakened about 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd been in bed for a couple of hours. I was awakened to the sound of a helicopter, and as you guys know, it's not unusual to hear a helicopter or aircraft flying overhead. But the thing that was strange about this is that it seemed to be hovering, and that got my attention. So I got out of bed, looked through the back bedroom window overlooking our patio, and to the right, about 3 or 4 houses down, I could see the spotlight of a police helicopter. Well, that obviously got my attention, and over the next several seconds, the light started coming in our direction, started passing through our neighbors' backyards, and then shortly thereafter, the light is shining down on our patio, mere feet outside the bedroom window through which I'm looking. Now, by this point, my heart is racing. And this light is the most brilliant light I've ever seen. If you guys have ever seen one of these lights that cast down from a police helicopter, it's amazing how bright it is. And it casts such tremendous ambient light, I could see police officers running through the neighborhood yards, through the ivy, hopping over fences in hot pursuit of their suspect. Well, things died down, the light in the helicopter moved on, the police officers continued their pursuit. I finally settled down, got back to sleep. The next morning, first thing I do is I call Barry. Conversation goes something like this. Hey Barry, what the hell was going on last night? And with unbridled enthusiasm, he says, oh Mark, it was great. We pulled over this car. Turned out the car was stolen, 2 suspects. We got one of them, the other one got away. We started chasing him. We ran through the yards, through the ivy, down hills. We finally caught him. It was fantastic. Well, I have always had a lot of respect and admiration for Barry and his guys, but that particular night, the bar was raised. And I thought, thank God for this guy. Thank God that we have people who are willing to do what I'm certainly not willing to do. And Barry, I just want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate all you've done, and wish you and Karen well in your retirement up at your lovely place in Tiger. The last thing I'll say is it's so great to see some of your artwork on display. And Leslie and I actually have the piece that's on the far right, and it's prominently displayed in our home. So while you may go back to Tiger, just know that a piece of you will always live in Collier Hills. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
But Barry, I'm glad you're retiring. I've had to share this stage with you for 5 years. And you're a lot funnier than I am.
No.
I mean, I don't get it. You tell the same stories over and over and over again, and you still get all these big laughs. And another thing, Barry, you've been working a long time. I mean, a really long time. You have no gray hair. I mean, do you know how much time and energy I spend maintaining this mousy brown hair? I mean, come on, Barry. And this is the first time I've seen you without your uniform, but the other thing is you get to walk around with a uniform and a gun and a bag. I just have this little badge, you know. So I've decided I want to be a lot more like you. So I got my clipboard right here. I have my clipboard, and I'm going to write down my stories. And I'm going to repeat them. And I'm going to check them off. I can't do it with this thing. I'm going to check them off one by one, and I'm going to tell the same stories again and again for 5 or 10 years to see how it goes.
It worked.
Okay? By the way, what was written on that clipboard, really?
Nothing.
In all
The
seriousness,
prop.
in all seriousness, Barry, I am really going to miss you. You are a man, as we all know, of great charm and humor, with a deeply caring heart. You have served us with distinction. You know who we are, you know every street, you know every corner, and you have just taken upon yourself to keep us safe, and that is so important. Use my clipboard. So, I want to wish you well as you pursue your new interests. I know you like travel and you like art, but you know what? I think you're going to be the next mayor of Tiger, Georgia.
Karen is running for mayor of Tiger.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have to run against her.
Yeah, as soon as she told me she was running, I got out.
She's running.
Oh, right.
Well, going to run for mayor.
Maybe you can have dual citizenship and run here.
Oh, yeah.
We would like that. But anyway, I wish you well. A dear friend of mine once said that people of a certain age, there are the go-go years and the slow-go years and the no-go years. So I'm really happy that you picked the go-go years to start your new adventures, so you have lots of energy. And I want you to come back and share some stories with us. They got to be new ones. And I know that you will be welcomed by every one of us. Be more than happy to see you again. So we wish you the best, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done.
Well, man, how does it feel?
Feels good.
Does it?
Scary.
Take a moment, look around the room. This is amazing. This is truly amazing. They're still pouring in. This feels great. I feel all the love and devotion. And let me also say that Barry's daughter's here and some of Karen's kids as well. Let's give them a hand for making the trip. I'm Alex Smith, former president of the Wildwood Civic Association. Don and I lived at the end of Power Mill. And about 8-9 years ago, I was in charge of security. That's where it started, and got to know Barry a little bit. The way we really got to know Barry was I was working from home. Donna would work from home a lot. And all of a sudden, Barry would come by and honk, and I'd call him in, and he'd come in and circle our driveway and come on inside. And the one thing you learned about Barry real quickly was if something's on the oven cooking, he's going to want a little bit. He's going to want a lot of it. And I found out that peanut butter and jelly was a favorite, just like me. But really what his favorite was the grilled cheese sandwich, but Donna's are special. And I believe jalapenos with that cheese sandwich, is that correct? So we got to know Barry a little bit. So as I started thinking about what to say here today, the thing that came to mind was Barry's very creative, as you guys know. All of us have our own relationship with Barry, and some of it more professional, some of it more humorous, but we all have our own distinct relationship with Barry. So as I sat down and said, okay, what can I do for this guy? And I said, well, let's put pen to paper and see what we can do. So I did that. I don't know if you'll like this or not, let me give it a shot. And this is called Ode to a Patrolman. It's late at night, kids fast asleep, outside a noise is heard. Daddy's gone, mama's alone, distress can be inferred. But have no fear, the cavalry's near, security that thrives. Make one quick call, the bat phone's on, an officer arrives. For many years, it has been the case, due mainly to one man. When long before new kids were born, this sergeant had a plan. His name is Barry Miller, an affable old soul. He took the call of safety first, and soon his lifelong goal. Part-time shifts set to detect criminals at their worst. True men in blue would serve the ranks. Brookwood Hills would be the first. Soon word would spread. The neighbors knew something should be done. Hey, sign us up. The network grew. All total, 21. Day and night, patrols on guard. The crime rate dropped a lot. Except for one who fired back once, yelled Barry, "I've been shot!" But he was tough, a pellet found. His head would need repair. The only quip he told the doc, "Just don't mess up my hair." For those of us who know the man, not to be dismissive, but he is more than just a cop. He's our own Andy Griffin. Leader, artist, comedian, a storyteller too. Musician with his dancing clocks. What is it he can't do? On one hand, an enforcer who keeps the thieves at bay. But when you find him off the clock, he never acts that way. While driving by a friendly wave, quite simply, that's his style. Always sincere to offer help and go the extra mile. So now it's time to bid farewell. Security has new agents. The mountains are the place to go. Karen has shown patience. So clap your hands or sing a song. Let's get up on our feet. One thing's for sure, based on his life, retirement won't be me.
I think I met you for the first time last fall. He and his team have been the invisible force protecting my house. Okay. That's better. Let me start. Barry's team has been a team that the invisible team that has been protecting my house for 20 years. I live in the Castlewood. I've never seen them except one time last fall when I met Barry. I travel a lot and sometimes for extended periods outside the country. So I just know that my house is going to be okay. Last fall, I was very concerned because I had to go to China for 4 months and leave my house empty for 4 months, and I was really concerned about that. But his team assured me. They came over, walked through my house, looked at any possible danger spots, and assured me everything would be fine. I got home, everything was fine. So this is my only opportunity to actually see Barry face to face, except that one time last fall when you were sitting in your car. And thank you very much. 20 years of protection. It's worth millions.
The Bantos, Robert and Terry, did y'all want to do this together? No? Whatever works.
I do have a couple of things, and Barry may have, well, there were 2 words that you said in the video, Superman and Rin Tin Tin. And maybe I'll do the Rin Tin Tin part first. No, we'll do Superman first. Superman. Okay. For years, Robert and I lived in Brookwood Hill. We lived in Brookwood Hills on White Road and Palisades, and always felt the comfort of Barry's presence in the patrols. But on one afternoon, about 4 years ago, at 4 o'clock, it looked like a SWAT team at our house on Palisades when I drove up. And I didn't recognize any of the police officers, but it soon became clear that it was our house at issue. And I also found out that we had a deputy in the neighborhood, a Flo Dawson. I guess Barry had deputized her because she was also part of the saving the day that particular day. But what was so amazing about Barry is that he actually had done his rotation in a whole other neighborhood. And our alarm had gone off. The police team arrived. The bad guys couldn't get out of our home because we have deadbolts on every lock, so they were jumping out of windows and stuff. And all the computers were packed up by the suitcases and left by the doors. That was nice. But then what happened was the policemen who were arrived and showed up after the bad guys had jumped out, I guess they were still circling the house. Someone called Barry. Barry's just gotten off duty. What happens? This is the Superman part. Clark Kent, remember how he showed up? Nobody could figure out how Clark and Superman were always at the same time. So I'm a little, okay, Clark. Anyway, so Barry shows up and catches the guy with the black patent backpack, or the orange one, up in a cab intermezzo. Anyway, saved the day, saved our day. I have a feeling that he probably saved the younger thief who was being corrupted by the older thief's day as well. I'm imagining that he had a great impact on the guys you caught as well. So there'll always be a Superman, but he's also super kind. The next day, and of course we were rattled, checked on us, but then through our mail slot, and Wood Hills was a little packet of printed note cards of his artwork with a note to us. And I have to tell you, I have not sent one. They are all still for us. We can't part with them. So that's the Superman part, but the Rin Tin Tin part is I was driving down, right, maybe a little bit too fast. He was parked in his white Jeep. I didn't know it was Barry. There was a miniature dachshund in that room. So that's the Rin Tin Tin part. His police dog is his precious, his miniature dachshund. We own dachshunds too. So we stopped and had our dachshund conversation, only to find out that Cricket sits in his lap when he has his hair done. So anyway,
And my teeth clean.
and his teeth clean. So this is a really special guy, and we're really happy that he's gonna travel and see the world, which is what he wants to do. But Robert and I are expecting because I know you're not put your cape up, so we want a postcard from Krypton, okay?
Well, I am president of nothing. My claim to fame is that I live across the street from that noted scofflaw, Linton Hopkins. Got this whole thing started. You know, there's one label that is not on here, and that is bad hombre. Barry looks really nice, and he speaks nice, but he's a bad hombre. We've all hired Clint Eastwood, and we're okay with that. We know that Clint does things that we might not approve, but it's okay. I know that I enjoyed the years when I was in bed and I'd hear the putt-putt-putt of Barry coming along up Camden. And then one night, I heard Barry go from 0 to 60 in about 3.2 seconds. And I know that night, because it was a very long time ago, I know it was a long time ago because the entrance to I-85 was straight into I-85. It was not like it is now. So how long has that been? 30 years, maybe? So that particular night, Barry is after the suspects. And the suspects have turned onto I-85. And they're waiting to get on because there's a car ahead of them. And Barry overtakes them. And the window is down on the suspect's car. And Barry, I don't know whether it was a good idea or not, but Barry leans in and grabs him by the neck. Remember that? And the car ahead of the suspect's car pulls into traffic. You know, about that time, Barry's kind of like the road runner when the safe is going to fall on his head. he thinks the only thing this guy's got to do is put the gas pedal down, and I am dragging along behind him. So Barry did what any great cop would do. He began squeezing a little tighter and tighter. And so finally he was able to get the keys out of the ignition. But that's the kind of guy we have as our security, and that's the kind of guy we've had for 35 years. Now there's one other thing I want to do. Barry, you know there's a little trail in Brookwood Hills that goes above the tennis courts, and it's really pretty and very nice up there. Well, about 10 to 15 yards in, there's a bench. And soon, there'll be a maple tree by the bench. And then there'll be a plaque by the maple tree. And what this plaque says is Sergeant Barry Miller. For 35 years, Atlanta Police Sergeant Barry Miller served and protected the residents of Brookwood Hills. Our gratitude and appreciation to Sergeant Barry Miller, Brookwood Hills neighbors.
Really. Unless somebody is just dying to say something. Oh my gosh, I see a hand.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Here, let's step back, sir.
Hey, everybody. So my name is Lieutenant Jeff Baxter. I work for the Atlanta Police Department, and I represent 16 police officers that Barry has assembled to work with him in the neighborhoods. And what I would like to first do is thank you, Barry, for the team that you've assembled, the 16 of us that you've allowed to work with you in the neighborhoods. I can't tell you how much we appreciate the opportunity to have served with you. And what many of you don't know is that behind the 16 of us, there's some real stories out there. We don't get raises, we don't get overtime, but we do have the ability to work in the neighborhood. And I can't tell you what that's meant personally for me and my family, and the families of the other 16 policemen that work in the neighborhood. So Barry, I thank you, and I thank all of you for allowing us to work for you. So thank you for that. So hopefully by next year I'll have my act together. But I just wanted to say thank you, Barry. Now, also the 16 of us officers had our own going away party for Barry at an undisclosed bar here in Atlanta. Those stories can't be repeated. So, but thank you.
Gonna do a great job. He's the lieutenant over the Beltline right now, and they were having a lot of crime. Excuse me, they were having a lot of crime on the Beltline, and Jeff assembled that team and pretty much shut it down. They've had very, very few problems since they took over. But this has been. Can you believe I'm without words? I tell everybody that if Linton Hopkins would let me, I'd kiss him right on the lips. Then where you at? He's not going to raise his hand now. But that day changed my life. I mean, you give a guy a handful of tickets and he still hires you. It's been wonderful. You know, I've got so many friends, obviously. Look at this crowd. And every one of them attractive. How did that happen? But it's been fun. It changed my life. It changed it so many different ways with all the friends. Financially, it changed my life. And I want everybody to come to Tiger, Georgia. And I call it the house that Brookwood Hills built, but it's really the house that all the neighborhoods built. I mean, it's 11 acres and a nice old farmhouse with 11 acres. And you guys helped me buy that house. So I want you guys to come to Tiger and see it. I'm in the book up there. There's only 314 people. I tell everybody it's so small. Well, John, I think you heard it. It's so small. We had a beauty contest one year and nobody won. And my wife was second runner-up. I love Tiger up there. I spend a lot of time there, and I've got an art studio there at the house. But you know, I would love to thank every one of you personally. I hope I can before y'all leave here today. But so many of you have meant so much to me. So long. Thank you for coming today. I know the weather was terrible. I was afraid I would get here, there'd be 2 or 3 people here. That would be my wife.
Sure.
Come on, Chris.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to work tomorrow.